let's just say, I don't know what I organized, but I was a part of a lot of things that went on.
Yeah.
Right? And that's really kind of the reality of it. Just wandered around to different places where it was good to wander to. You know, so
you are now a recording artist, and you have a number of albums out there. I guess, was it Jackson Brown who first brought you into the studio? Or how did that come about?
Well, it came about, you know, I spent a lot of time as a political activist.
Right.
And then for me, as an individual, I came to understand that that identity didn't work for me. Right? Because it limited my perception of reality, because I was participating in reality from the perception of a political activist. And no matter how righteous my activism is, no matter how righteous my cause, I'm limiting my ability to see because I'm only seeing as a political activist. And that has its own limitations, because I think there are larger understandings that as human beings we need to be able to experience, maybe. All right? Yeah. So in that whole, as all that's going on through my head and consciousness, I started writing. And I started writing, and then yes, Jackson took me in. I was kind of like a fugitive, and Jackson took me in and into the world of music while I was writing. And then at some point I got the idea, well, I want to put my lines with music, but as spoken word. You know, so then I wandered off into that to see where it would go, and here I am.
I remember must have been more than 20 years ago I first came across a cassette of yours. It was This is in El Salvador.
But this is in El Salvador. Yeah.
Right. It was really a powerful. Was that one of your first ones?
It was the fourth album.
Fourth album?
We made Tribal Voice, which was the poetry with the tribal music. And then 3 years passed, and then I met Jesse Ed Davis, and with Jesse Ed Davis I made Graffiti, aka Graffiti Man, which is now with the electric music.
Right.
And then we made Heart Jump Bouquet, and then we made But This Is in El Salvador. I think in 1987 we recorded that.
Right.
We like that tune, Grass Fire, man.
Grass Fire, yeah.
My DNA needs THC.
My DNA
awesome
needs THC. Well, it's reality.
Yeah,
It's
and
true.
it does.
It's real
It's
sometimes.
amazing how the science is backing that up more and more every day. We often talk about it here, how, you know, just in, what was it, 93, they discovered that our bodies have this whole endogenous cannabinoid system where we have these artificial cannabinoids that kind of modulate the rest of the endocrine system, the body's hormones and everything.
Well, you know, I think
we do need THC.
Yeah, no,
in fact,
we do.
mother's milk has endogenous THC in it.
No, that's why my DNA needs THC. There's a reason, right, that it gets said. But you know what I'm interested in, I mean, in a way, is like, because what you're saying about this, see, I think that, what is this, Cannabis Sense?
Yeah, Cannabis Common Sense.
Well, see, what makes Cannabis Common Sense to me is I think we really need to start putting some efforts into the legalization of industrial hemp. If we put as much effort and energy into the legalization of industrial hemp as we put into hemp that we can smoke, if we put an equal amount of energy into that, because that serves, it meets a larger objective of alternative energy, because, I mean, you know, I won't make the speech, but we make the fuels and the food and all this stuff, all right, and it's you know, and I've had this lingering curiosity in the back of my consciousness, as active as the cannabis movement is in its various levels and perceptions, right, that I don't quite get why more energy isn't put into that. You know, because it would save the farmers and all. I mean, there's so much that could be, and everybody's talking, and people are starting to sit back now. The political system's starting to talk about, well, in order to meet our oil needs, we'll do offshore drilling. You know, and people are, and I don't see it coming. No, in order to meet some of these energy needs, industrial hemp.
Yeah, we often talk about this study out of Notre Dame University in 1975. It's published in a magazine called The Midlands Naturalist, and it's feral hemp in southern Illinois. According to that study, an acre of hemp will make 4 tons of hemp seed, and 4 tons of hemp seed will make 300 gallons of biodiesel fuel or oil.
So to me, those
That's-
of us who come from the hemp community, see, this should be the alternative form of energy that we're putting up. If
Yeah.
we put as much effort into getting medicine for the earth as we put into getting it for ourselves, see, we have the energy to do it. It's just the focus and the consciousness. Because what I see as the imbalance, we're talking about the benefits of hemp or marijuana medicinally, all right, for us. But it also serves the same medicinal benefit for the earth. You know, and it does. But we're not putting an equal effort into what it does for the earth as we're putting into what it does for us. And because what I don't see it really happening anywhere to a large degree. But what we really need to have is we really need to have a stimulation of the energy consciousness.
Should have been hemp
The energy.
Here, John, our theme was industrial hemp, man. We
Yeah,
had
see,
a
and this should
serious
be-
emphasis going
See,
on,
and it should
man,
be-
on alternative energy.
The environmental crisis being what it is, I think there's an opening somewhere to inject it in as an alternative, part of the alternative, because they're talking about alternative energy.
Yeah,
all
I
the
think
reptilians
you're exactly right.
and the sheep and everybody's
I think
talking
that's
about
the
it.
key, really,
right?
is the alternative energy
and
thing. I
think
agree with you
somewhere
on
in
that.
While that's all going on, this whole idea, and maybe it comes out of our consciousness about saying, no, consider this is about alternative energy. Because they are talking about drilling offshore now, you know, and everybody's starting to accept it. People that wouldn't accept it 15 years ago, it's you know, because what's happened is the industrial ruling class, they're cutting off access to the drug, oil. And people are going through the withdrawal, and they're making them pay the higher price. So now they're willing to sell their children, so to speak, or sell the family jewels, so to speak, you know, right, and to get the next fix, the offshore drilling.
According
and
to
stuff.
T. Boone Pickett's,
And all
the
this is
largest
going on.
transfer of wealth
But all
in
this is
human
going
history.
on now, but I think that, see, what makes sense makes sense. We're talking about cannabis. What makes sense makes sense, and I think that you see, I'm not the person that does, but that does it, but somewhere.
You can lead the way, John.
If it gets injected, if in our consciousness and we start thinking away that this should be put to that alternative energy debate thing that's going on,
Yeah, I agree.
industrial hemp.
They don't want that, but
You
I
know,
think that's the key of it.
And it's being said for the sake of it, because you know there are a lot of people, especially farmers. Cause the song about the farmers, there's a lot of farmers. There's a lot of people that would be supportive of it, but it's got to be.
If we could put the money for this
but
petroleum money that's going overseas
it's
into
about
our
putting in-
farmers' pockets.
But putting in the
farmers are
energy,
gonna
see,
back
we
us.
need to put the energy into the idea, all right? Put the energy in, all right? And then that'll help to feed other energy.
Yeah.
And see what's going
Energy
on
is the world's
they're putting
largest
more
industry.
energy against us than we're putting against them.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on. They're putting their energy is more coherent. What they're going to do against us, they're very coherent about what they're doing, all right, in order to keep the downtrodden downtrodden.
Yeah.
But it's
wanna
about energy,
imprison
laws
anyone
and
who thinks
voting and
about
all
marijuana.
that stuff. These are mechanisms, but in the end, it's about energy. So the only defense we're ever going to really have in the long run is what kind of energy do we create with the creative power of our intelligence? What kind of coherent energy do we protect ourselves with? You know, because. And anyway, so to me, you know, anyway, I think
Yeah, I'm loving
that
it,
it's
man.
in our best interest if we really put thought into the industrial, what we call industrial hemp, as a part of the alternative energy, right? Consciousness that's going on right now, right? And then it helps the medical marijuana use for the humans, and it also helps for that.
Yeah, they can heal the planet.
Because I think in a lot of ways we're having a hard time getting past, because the way we have to fight the struggles we have to fight to get it legalized for human consumption, all right? I just think an equal amount of energy needs to start going for, it's earth medicine. It protects the earth, you know? You don't have to insecticide it and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. It grows
like
more
a buffalo. It
and
just
faster.
grows,
It
you know.
produces more protein, fiber, and oil than any other plant on the planet. One of the things we say here on the show quite frequently is that the real reason that marijuana is illegal has nothing to do with drugs. It's not about drugs. It's really about money and the continued centralization of economic and political control. It's about the political powers that be that protect the petrochemical industry and the wood-based paper industry and that whole corporate monolith that wants to, you know, centralize control to a tinier and smaller group of people. And we've got to
they don't
turn that
even have
around.
to centralize control. Things are working just great for them.
Yeah.
And they have been for a long time.
Thousands of
years. So they don't need to centralize or do any. Actually, all they're really
Well, they
all
prohibited
the
marijuana.
institutions are concerned about is keeping the status quo.
Yeah.
I don't think they're actively at this point. I think they've got everything where they want it, and it's working just fine. I saw a great bumper sticker the other day. It said, "Everything considered, the war on the environment is going extremely well."
Yeah, they know
Fortunately,
what
that's
they're
right.
doing. But you know, this other thing about marijuana is not a drug. All right, and we jokingly refer to it. I do. We do.
It's a sacrament.
Right. No, it's a plant.
It's an herb.
It's an herb. It's a plant. It's not a drug. The earth does not grow drugs.
Yeah.
This is basic reality. The earth does not grow drugs. All right? Man creates drugs out of things the earth grows. So marijuana is not a drug. All right? It's a plant. All right?
Agree with that.
And I think that that's an important distinction that we need to understand, because it's a part of our humor and a whole part of our consciousness. It's dope, this is right, you know. And
It's kind of denigrating.
but in reality,
you know, it's
we really need
self-denigrating.
to.
If you
Pardon?
look at the the Cheech and Chong kind of humor,
Yeah,
not to
no sense of
complain
humor, no.
about them, but it is self-denigrating.
But at some point, we need to really have that understanding also, because it helps us, you know, because we know the marijuana prohibition has got to do with the threat that it poses to the petrochemical society. You know, because if you
Could be
can
the
make
cure.
all of these things out of it, you don't need all this oil. If you can, you know, if you can make paper out of it, then you don't need to cut down the forest. If you can make wood for houses, then you don't need. See, it's a serious. See, that's what this
It's a
is
threat
really all about.
to the whole
It's really
industrial
all
monolith.
about that. Whether you smoke a joint or I smoke a joint, is irrelevant. It's about this. All right, and whether we get to smoke a joint or not becomes a way of keeping this down. I mean, a way of fighting this thing.
Right.
You know,
It's an artificial construct.
and I'm just saying, somewhere along the line, as we evolve this thing, if we throw in our energy of consciousness in alliance with what I call industrial hemp, looking out for the earth in a larger context, it will be beneficial all around for all of us.